Hello and welcome to the 4th episode of the Fandom Flux podcast. I once again, and for the last time, unless we make me permanently the host because, I don't know, people are stupid, I am your host, KCW, and with me are Sisinus, again.
Hello.
Special guests, King of Zero X, who I'm going to call Zero because, I don't know.
Because you can.
Can't think of anything better. Yeah, sure.
Oh.
And personal favorite of mine, as far as authors go, Kenchi 618, a.k.a. the patron saint of Naruto fanfiction.
Oh, man. I'm touched. Wow. I'm serious. It's one thing being told that in a message or something. It's another thing hearing it out loud.
Yeah, you really are very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know you'd stick pretty much to that fandom, but the crossovers that you do are actually pretty well constructed as well.
Yeah,
well,
personal favorite of mine.
Oh, you guys are just boosting my ego right now.
My one of my friends is a fan of yours. I texted him saying, I'm going to be in a podcast with Kenchi. He's like, dick.
Oh, man.
All right.
Famous.
Yeah, okay. So, as far as introductions go, I suppose we should extend this one out a little bit, because we have new people. New people, always nice. Like I said, we needed to expand the cast a little bit, so having a couple of extra people, always a good thing. Plus we have, full house of 4, rather than 3 people, where we have trouble keeping the conversation going.
Mm-hmm.
So, King of Zero X, a.k.a. Zero, is a writer of Persona fanfiction for the most part. He's done some crossovers. One of his most prominent stories would be Anti-Shadow Suppression Weapon
M1N470 is what I call it.
Yeah, the number code one, because he's a robot. It's a pretty cool story. And another one apparently has become inexplicably popular, was another one that he started 1 chapter ago. But I don't know anything about that one, so I'm not going to talk about it, because if I don't know about it, it can't be any good.
Right.
Actually, I think in terms of stats, my most popular one is Celestial Suicide Mage, which is Persona and Fairy Tail.
Yes, the Fairy Tail crossover. Weird how that works.
I
don't know. Still, it's another good story. I read it, so it's got to be good. See how this works? It works really well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a very simple scale.
Yeah. Okay, so, yeah. That's one of our guests. And the other one is, as I mentioned, a very, very skilled Naruto writer who has written, I think your first big story was the Sealed Kunai.
Yep.
Which was the Naruto Raised by Danzo plot that you see sometimes.
Yep.
Very good one. And some of his other big ones would be, I've forgotten their names already because I'm an idiot. Better Left Unsaid, where Naruto is not told about the fox being sealed inside him, which makes for changes to how things go, but it still actually feels very much like a canon Naruto story. The characters feel accurate, and the plot seems to kind of go in a way that you would expect if things had gone that way.
So you mean that in a good way, then? Canon?
Yeah, it's a very good for want of a nail story, because it has the same feel of the original work, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I tried to keep that one before it all got blown to hell in the actual storyline. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Orochimaru ends up being a real villain, and that's something you don't actually see very often.
Not anymore.
From my perspective.
It used to be before the Akatsuki and stuff were introduced. He was the main villain all the time, but it's kind of died out.
And in fairness, you only see, you don't see very many stories actually get past the tuning exams, I find.
No.
They stop either there or at the, Sasuke deserting, and then it just kind of peters out and the author loses interest.
Or there's stories about the tuning exams.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. It's weird, too. But, yeah, so, a very good writer. He's also written some crossovers. a One Piece one. I've forgotten what the title was.
Shinobi of the High Seas.
That's the one. So, I find one of the actually good One Piece fics. There aren't that many of them, as far as I've found.
Yeah.
So that was a nice find. So I think that's what actually got me reading your stuff, Kenchi, now that I think about it.
Is the One Piece section like the Bleach, where it's just kind of not a whole lot and not any good ones?
Like I'd say there's more quantity in the Bleach, but its quality I'd pretty much say is the same, like what you're thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't even read the crossovers in the One Piece and Bleach sections. So
One Piece I find is pretty slash heavy. I mean, everywhere on fanfiction is pretty slash heavy, to be fair. But One Piece in particular, I think it might have something to do with like 90% of the crew in that show being male. But somebody's talking in the background.
It's my brother.
Okay.
Tell him
Kick
to
him
say
the balls
hi.
for me when you see him.
Hey, Tyler, say hi.
Something of a scale. Kick him in the balls. Say hi.
Do both.
Because I asked you to. Or me to tell you.
Okay. So, yeah, that was a good one, and I can't think of any other stories. Oh. I was saying you blend Naruto with different fictions quite well. The History Strongest Disciple, Kenchi.
I get weird with some of these.
That's a very confusing name that you have there when that fandom's talked about, but okay. Yeah, that was a good one because what you tend to see when you're talking about, we'll just have this lead into the next topic, which is crossovers. What you tend to see when crossing one story with another, you'll often and unfortunately have just the character that they want in this other story just be dimensionally transported to this other story, and that's all the effort that the writer puts into it. What you've done with a couple of your stories, Kenchi, is a lot more interesting because you've combined the worlds so that they work with each other.
Fusions, as opposed to just crossovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ninja culture in History's Strongest Disciple, Kenchi, is pretty much, at least so far, I mean, it's not one of your most long-running fics yet.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope it ends up being, because it's a very good story.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop with that one anytime soon.
Yeah, but it's all very grounded as far as History's Strongest Disciple is in the real world. So Shikamaru's techniques, for example, aren't to do with like manipulating shadows. They're like wire work to manipulate people, which is interesting because you actually make the techniques make sense in the real world rather than just, oh, he does something with chakra and it makes it work. I find that really interesting.
Yeah, I have fun with that.
Basically.
Yeah, I think it's fun to like try and figure out, okay, such and such does this. How can I like applicate that as something you could actually see in the real world somehow?
Yeah, something someone could actually do, which is interesting to me. Not to mention that you've actually got the culture, working in the real world, so it's like this secret society that's hidden itself off from the rest of the world, but still operates in the real world, and they like do that believably, like they study culture and everything before they go out on the missions, and like, international intrigue and all that stuff. That's a really interesting way of doing things, and making that whole world and set of characters fit into this pseudo-realistic setting.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Go ahead.
That's really the best kind of crossover, really, is where the author really, researches it and thinks it through instead of just, these two series are awesome, let's combine them, and then just doesn't. Those usually just peter out pretty quick.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, actually.
Yeah.
The way I think about it is that if you're going to do a crossover, you've got to pretty much know enough about both worlds that you're using to at least close to being equal. And, I mean, I've seen a lot of them, and I don't think it works if you're just going to put one person in there, like put one person, one world into the entire other world, and just have them run roughshod over it. I mean, you can have fun with that for a while, but that's going to lose its luster pretty quick, I think.
Mm-hmm. The interest will die quick, yeah. It's a momentary fancy kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, and I was talking about that one story, Anti-God Messiah. What that got pretty popular, but it's there are very few fics in that category. And what I did with that was at the end of the Persona series, there's this big final battle, and spoiler alert, he goes and creates the main character goes and creates a seal to seal this evil, right? This god who's not really evil, but he creates a seal. Yeah. And so what I do in mine is that he's got all this basically this power to just do whatever he can to do this. And I took a quote from one of the characters, and it is the power to bring about a new beginning or the ultimate end. It may be possible now with this newfound power you may be able to defeat the one who cannot be defeated. And I pointed out that it also says nothing is outside the realms of possibility for you now, and that's in the actual quote in canon. And then I had it where the character came to the revelation that Igor, the person who said it, did not say seal. He said defeat. So he it's it's not outside the possibility. So he basically goes and uses the power to create a way to defeat the person. Because it's supposed to be undefeatable.
Yeah. I was very much with you on reinterpreting that quote so that it actually, does what he said he could do rather than doing something completely different. Until you pronounced it Igor.
Sorry, that was Young Frankenstein. I saw that movie. Igor. That my dad's made me watch that movie a million times. It's hard.
I get hung up on pronunciations. It's bad. Sorry about that. Had to.
It's good. It's good. But
yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's a good point. Just redo things to it's good.
Yeah.
Alternate interpretations, basically the bread and butter of fan fiction.
Yep.
And what he does is he basically is he's I don't know what's going to happen with this thing because he creates a persona, which is the power he uses, chaos, which is the beginning of all things, and he's just give me a way to beat this person, and it sucks him into the Campione universe where gods can be killed.
That's interesting. It actually uses the whole this character goes into this dimension thing.
Yeah,
but it uses it for a purpose.
And he doesn't go alone either. He has a few people that come with him. One of which is Ryoji, who is the another spoiler alert, the son of Nyx, the person who he beat. Yeah,
we don't need to give spoiler alerts. We'll do the regular policy of it, 2 weeks warning kind of thing, unless you're trying to sell people on the story or something, in which case you probably shouldn't spoil it.
I don't know. I just feel
use your better judgment. I think a lot of people that listen to this have already experienced most of Persona.
If they haven't played, it's play P3P though. That way you can. The original Persona 3, you just can't control the other characters' actions, and they can just have spamming useless moves.
That was fun. Yeah.
Also, if you play Persona 4, you won't want to play Persona 3. You will try and you will say, sod this for a game of toy soldiers, and just not bother.
It's definitely superior gameplay-wise, yeah.
Yeah. I like the setting of Persona 3, though. I'm working my way over to Persona 4, slowly.
Yeah. It's an okay game.
Yeah.
My passion for it has waned somewhat. Anyway, I think we skipped a topic. Whoops. So, what have you guys been doing this week?
Let's see. Aside from trying to get an actual career in television broadcasting off the ground, that's been going pretty slow. Let's see. What did I do this week? I almost got my ribs broken on Wednesday, which is fun for everybody. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Some of you may or may not know this, but I tend to oftentimes try and train as much as I can in mixed martial arts, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and stuff like that. Grappling.
You're very
striking.
vocal about it.
Yeah.
You're very vocal about it in your author's notes.
Yeah.
Which I do read as well because they're also quite entertaining.
Yeah, I don't really mind telling people how off out of my mind I am at some points after I'm done writing.
Yeah, at some points, yeah.
Yeah, and don't ever try to sandbag. Like, if you're ever going against someone that's an actual, like, state-level wrestler, if you're ever against anyone that's ever, like, won titles and things on any level, high school, college, or whatever, don't sandbag and go slow against them in a grappling match or you will get hurt. And that's what I found out the other day. And I'm still pretty off from that.
That's good advice. Can I add something to that?
Go ahead.
If you've never been in a proper fight for your life, in your life, if you've never fought, don't pick a fight with a guy that's, your high school boxing champion. It's a bad idea. I say it from experience.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah, that was stupid. But it's a good life lesson, so, learn from my mistakes. So
I've never gotten in a real fight, but I got my black belt in Taekwondo. Yeah.
Everyone in this room could beat the crap out of me.
Not everyone. I couldn't. I'm a little bit intimidated, except for the fact that...
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of glad now that you two are in another country, across an ocean. Oh. Except Kenchi might just run across it like Sonic, running across the water just to beat the shit out of him.
I'm not that dangerous. Like, I'm not a bad person. I just like fighting. It's fun to me. Like, I don't mind getting hit in the face.
I'm not a bad person. I just like beating people up.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you put it like that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not a bad person. I like beating people up when they're strong enough to
when they're
maybe beat me up as well.
When they're able to actually hurt me back. And that sounds horrible, actually.
It does, yeah, a little bit. You really just can't win here?
Yeah, I'm just going to let it drop at this point. Yeah. I'm a masochist. Let's just leave it at that. I'm to some extent masochistic, so let's just leave it to that.
Yeah, whatever floats your boat. So, I keep trying to decide every time I look at your name what to call you. But Zero, what have you been doing this week?
Well, let's see. I downloaded Battle of the Gods DBZ. Watched that with my little brother, and he's been really excited for it because he's a big DBZ fan. Dragon Ball Z, and just he was like, this is. And after we finished it, he's like, I can die in peace now. That's it.
How old is your brother?
He's 13.
Oh, okay. So. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
How was it, by the way? Because I haven't seen that, but I wanted to.
It really what I felt it did was it opened up room for Dragon Ball Z to start again. It opened it up for new movies and possible things.
Oh, this is the new one then. This is the one where they're trying to start it all over again.
Yeah. It really did a good job of opening it up with Super Saiyan God, and now there's actually 12 universes out there with people who are stronger than you.
Okay.
Wow.
Naturally.
And each universe has its own
fan base to work with.
Yeah. It's not declined at all, and then there's that new DBZ coming out with multiplayer. That game. Battle of Z.
That what?
Oh. It's a new Dragon Ball Z game called Battle of Z, where basically you have the insanity of fighting multiple people in a Dragon Ball Z environment with 4-on-4 teams.
Sounds absurd.
Everybody's just launching ultimate attacks against each other, and Kamehameha's going.
Everyone's building up their ki every 30 seconds. There's no action for 30 seconds, then everyone's just throwing their stuff.
Yeah, that's how the Naruto games tend to go, in my experience.
Yeah, that is how it goes. You'll fight for 15 seconds, and you're like, how about a chakra? You just try and get as much space as you can.
Yeah.
And build it back up.
Yeah, it's a fun game, though. Give it credit for that.
Yeah. And let's see, also this week I wrote and uploaded the new chapter of M1N470, and then people were like, hey, that one scene with Labris, it wasn't good. So I went and I rewrote it. Kind of changed.
Were you happy with it?
What? What did you say?
Were you happy with it, the rewrite?
Yeah, it actually went more with my original plan. Like, I was in a writing frenzy when I was, writing, and I just kind of was like, oh, this happens. And then I went back and looked over it. I'm like, oh, well, I can actually fit in my original plan there if I just change this, and this. Added in a few new scenes and increased the word count.
Awesome.
Okay, I need
You're
to reread
saying
that
that got
chapter
to 17,000?
It was originally 16,000. It jumped up to 17,600 something.
7,000. I split mine. I don't go that high. I cut out at 1,200 or 1,300, and I'll split it. I don't care.
Yeah, but then you just post double chapters anyway.
Well, that's because, yeah, I do, but that's not the point. That's not the point.
I couldn't find a really good halfway point, though. It was just, I felt like it needed to be taken as a whole. And,
I can see that.
It's a big, point in the story, and I feel like just breaking it up would just kind of ruin the tone that was set.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I tend to end chapters early when that happens, though, unfortunately. I go the other way and end up writing 1,500 words instead of 2,500. You guys put me to shame, you know that?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's what you've been doing. It is a very good story as well, by the way. M1 and numbers. Yeah,
thanks.
It's a good story, and people should go read it because it's fun. And
I definitely will be, yeah.
You actually seem to be sticking pretty strongly to the whole hero's journey archetype. Well, I don't see that very often.
It's, I wanted to start off with a character that, he pretty much starts off as ends up starting off as pretty much a blank slate, and, see how events kind of shape him into, what he'll eventually become by the end of the story. And, I will admit that, some of the earlier chapters, like, I first started writing fanfiction only a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, and I published a few stories that were kind of terrible, so I took them off the site, and then I had the idea for M1N470, and I was like, why hasn't anybody done this yet? So I started it, and as I've been writing it, I've been getting a lot better. So I'll look at my future chapters and, my later chapters and be like, this is really good. And I'll look at, chapter 5 and I'll be like, this is terrible. Why did I write this?
Why hasn't anyone done this before, he says, about the story where he turns the main character into a robot?
Technically not a robot, but,
Yeah, it's ish.
Yeah.
Kind of.
With robotic parts, close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, it's unique, and it isn't unoriginal. You wouldn't expect people to actually come up with that, so kudos on that front.
I don't think it's entirely that, actually. I think part of it is just people realize the scope of that. I mean, it changes a lot.
It does, actually.
Put a lot of work into that, or it needs a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Kudos. Lots of them.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. I'll take those kudos.
Yes. They're delicious, aren't they? Right. So, Slicer, what have you been doing? Anything?
Somebody gave me their account for War Z, which is now Infestation Survival Story, so I've been playing that off and on. I kind of respect the developers for that. On the forums, I finally found a post about why they seem to just ignore everyone. It's they're making the game they want to play, not what makes the people on the forums happy. I can kind of respect that in a way, because I think that would be how I would make a game if I made something.
That's how I write.
Also, that's how I write. It's the story I want to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a lot easier to respect them for that if it wasn't for the whole money grubbing thing.
If you don't have, if you'd have to pay for it.
They locked out the character models and then raised the price of them, so they're like $40 a character.
Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. That's more than the game itself.
That's just stupid.
Yeah.
That's how they make their
money.
On a
lighter note, I've been playing Diablo 3 on the Xbox just these past few days, and it's actually really good. You have a bit of problem with ranged characters because you can't really aim with a analog stick very well, precision-wise, for bosses in a big mob of enemies, but it's pretty fun, yeah. Runs smooth.
Oh, that's good. I was thinking of actually picking that up at some point, but, money. and not having any.
Right.
So
I would recommend it, and there's the next add-on, the big one that adds character classes and different loot stuff, and that comes out next year, 2014 early, I think. So you could wait till then to get it.
Yeah. It's not generally a genre that I get into. I mean, I tried Torchlight, I think it was, on the Xbox. It's okay, but it's not something I'm very much into. So I don't know. I might pick it up on cheap.
That one's less streamlined. It's a little more complicated, and overly complicated, I mean, in a bad way.
It felt that way, yeah. So, I started watching an anime this week. I think Ethan might have mentioned it last week. It's called Attack on Titan.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, he was totally right about that anime. In both it being really, really good, and it being really, really hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched the first 2 episodes, and I'm like, okay, I need to take a breather and do something else for a while, because that was kind of hardcore.
The setting has been appropriately set, and it is dark.
Yeah, bad things happen in that show, often.
Pretty brutal.
Yeah. I think it actually ended its original run today, so it's 25 episodes. It's a very good watch. I'd very much recommend it.
Is it over? Is that like the whole series, the 25, or does the manga go on?
I think that's the first run, and they're going to do another season at some point in the future. So, yeah. Don't quote me on that. I just know they had a very firm ending point, as in, like, you know, a post-credits dun-dun-dun moment as well. So, like, I'm thinking that's the end of the first run and they're going to do another one. But, yeah, stuff happens. It's hard to watch, but it's got great storytelling, and I want to know what happens, but I don't want to know what happens.
It keeps you watching it, even if you don't want to sometimes.
I read the manga, so I know what's pretty much going to happen for a while.
Yeah, I went on the TV Tropes page once it finished, and they don't separate spoilers for the anime and the manga, so I know who the big bad guys are, unfortunately. So that's unfortunate, but still very worth watching, even when it's been spoiled for me. So, yeah, I'll be looking forward to more of that at some point in the future. I kind of want to watch it again, but I don't want to watch it again.
I think to myself, hey, it's not as brutal as Gaunt's.
Oh, yeah. That or Berserk.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
or Berserk.
Sometimes you just need to get something in your system that just crush your soul a bit.
Well put.
Yeah. Gaunt's was kind of like that on purpose, though, and it didn't really work as well.
It seemed forced or something? Or?
Yeah, it felt very forced. Like, there's this thing that's happening to us. We don't know why, and all of us are dying twice because reasons. And then, like, near the end of it, oh, hey, big alien invasion.
Yeah.
It kind of comes out of nowhere.
In one of the chapters, they're like, hey, we brought back everybody who died just to kill them again.
Yeah. I didn't like that series. I stopped reading it before it even ended.
Yeah, I just saw HBI 2K's abridged series of that. I'm not even remotely interested in seeing the source material after that. It's just too good.
I assume it's only if the anime, then.
Yeah.
The abridged,
yeah.
Abridged is actually pretty funny. I like these.
Good.
Yeah, that was a weird series.
Really weird.
So, I think that pretty much covers what we've been doing. So, do we have anything more to say on crossovers, or shall we move on to the other topic?
I'm waiting for the next topic.
I'm not looking forward to the next topic.
Why?
Because it's the next topic, and we're going to catch flack for whatever we say about this topic.
I don't care.
I can see it
I'm
already.
used to it.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we're moving on to pairings.
Cringe.
Pairings.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel bad for suggesting this.
Yeah.
Pairings are serious business.
They are.
Very, very serious. And weird.
Yeah, these are people's lives you're affecting here. Fictional people's lives.
Yeah. Okay. I have an idea. Hey, Zero.
Yeah?
You suggested this topic. How about you start us off?
Okay, I will.
Dick nuggets.
I'll take that. Okay, so, pairings is, you see them everywhere on Fanfiction. You see, everybody's always asking for them. When I started writing M1N470, everybody was like, I put up, I do a question of the chapter every chapter, and I put up, what would you like the pairing to be? And everybody's just like, this, and then, but the majority was like, I don't even know. Like, and I put up a poll, and everybody was like, harem.
Right. If you put that up, that's the easy option.
Yeah,
now.
that's
I mean,
it.
Nobody.
That's the everyone's happy option.
Yeah.
Sort of.
And somebody's like, if you're gonna do, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do a future poll after all the characters have been shown and developed, as to who will be like, if there's gonna be a harem, who will be the character that we focus on. So it's sort of a pairing, but also harem.
Like my whole philosophy on that is, I wrote one story where I had a pairing in mind set out, and halfway through it I was like, I've done nothing to further this pairing, and they're supposed to be in a relationship. So I just blew it halfway through and just scrapped it and got them in a new relationship. And the way I see it is, from that day forward, I don't write stories with the pairing in mind. I let the story go and just develop it through.
I think I'm too
really
small-minded about pairings to do that.
Yeah,
It's apparently working quite well for you, though, Kenchi. I mean, Better Left Unsaid has a very specific pairing, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
And it's going quite well. You're writing it pretty well.
Trying.
Handling the relationship quite believably, as far as I'm concerned, anyway.
It does seem like the best writing style, if you can manage it, yeah.
Just let it go and see what happens.
Unless you're very specifically writing a shorter story, more contained about these two characters.
Yeah, it works better. Like, pairings are really only, in my opinion, like really good when they're concrete, when they're in shorter stories that are going to like end after like 5 or maybe 10 chapters or so.
The only time I ever started a story with a pairing in mind was somebody requested me to do a crossover, and they're like, here's my idea, and then I took their idea and completely destroyed it, rebuilt it, and was like, okay, here's the story. And then I started writing it more. The story's the MTC, by the way, which is one of my older stories. It's my first crossover I ever wrote. And then, like, halfway through it, I'm like, this is actually turning out to be harem instead. Whoops.
So you wrote one by accident this time.
Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah. But I suppose Persona, of all fandoms, you can be forgiven for doing a harem pairing. I mean, the game kind of expects you to. It rewards you.
Are there actually any downsides in Persona 3 to the harem approach?
Only if you fuck it up.
Yeah, if you mess up, you can be caught while you're on a date with somebody else. And
yeah, it reverses the link, and then you've got to either fix it or it'll break, and then you can't level it up anymore. In fact, you don't get any benefits at all from that link after that.
I actually accidentally did the harem approach, and there was no downside at all. Nothing happened. I had a close call with the school event, like I mentioned, the fortune teller thing, but I may be thinking of the wrong game.
Yeah, the only way to fuck it up is to double book yourself. So if you say, someone calls you and you say, yeah, I'll see you on Sunday, and then someone else calls you on another day and say, yeah, do you want to go out on Sunday? And you say yes, then they'll both show up, and then they'll see each other, and then you reverse both of those links. So.
I think I would actually like to see that. Does it actually play any kind of cutscene? Or well, not cutscene.
I believe so. I think it does. I haven't seen any of them because I used a guide for it, so I wouldn't do that. But, yeah, I imagine they're entertaining. Probably on YouTube. I'm not going to link them because I'm not looking through all that, but, it's a YouTube search away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they stripped all that out for 4, though. So there's like no downsides to going for a harem at all, even if you mess up. So that's a weird thing, though. The harem pairing thing.
I catch hell for that from time to time.
Well, for doing harems.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird, though.
Like,
I mean, what kind of flack are you getting for it specifically?
Well, I mean, let's see. I've been blasted about 2 or 3 times on forum boards and even on TV tropes, actually. Because there was one point in time, like a year ago, where I Googled myself. And don't do that, by the way. Don't ever do that.
Luckily, billions of things come up for me when I type in KCW, so no worries there, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to Google Kenchi.
All right, whatever. I've already seen it all, so go ahead.
Yeah, I had a pretty fun time finding out what weird crap I signed up for when I was a teenager. That was fun. Find anything interesting with that Google search? Or yet?
Found his PSN profile.
It's the exact same as my actual name or actual alias.
Well, you have an alias. You have an internet persona.
It's not that.
Good for you.
Not really.
Persona.
It's like my actual name with a chi and a 618 on it. That's pretty much it. Like, I'm not hiding anything.
I didn't know you have an AFF account. Go figure.
I did it back when there's nothing on it. Like, I did it back when everyone was like all freaking out about, they're gonna take your stories off, blah blah blah.
Purges.
Yeah, and I did it just in case, but nothing happened, so I don't care. I don't use it. It's just
I have
there.
a friend who lost his account 3 times in a row when that happened.
Yeah, well, that friend, if it is who I'm thinking it is, then
It's not Jordania.
He should have. No, not him. It's the other guy that I know of. He probably should have expected to have his account brought down.
Yeah, probably.
Based on the stuff that he's written.
A little bit, yeah.
Because he wrote some stuff. Anyway.
I deal mostly in smut, by the way. That's what he's implying.
Anyway, so you didn't actually say what kind of flack were you getting for...
All right, I got pretty much typecast, like in my first year of writing as a harem writer, because of what I did in the earlier chapters of Steel Kunai and the Shinobi of the High Seas and the True Warriors Never Die and all that stuff. And they're right. Like, I can't say they're completely wrong to an extent, because out of the 11 I've written, 1, 2, 3, 4
off the top of my head.
4 have harem situations, but that's 4 out of 11. One was ambiguous early on, and
that'd be the Metal Gear one, I assume.
Yeah, that'd be the Metal Gear one. The Metal Gear one was ambiguous early on, but I was doing that to prove a point, to like express an actual point in things. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you read that one, you know who's gonna hook up with Naruto in that story. If you read that one, you know who's gonna get with in the end. All right, and I mean, pretty much I've written 11 stories, and 4 admittedly have harems, but and so I got typecast as a pretty much all of his stories are harems, and all of his story characters have girls falling for Naruto and blah blah blah. I'm like, whoa, how much of my stuff did you actually read out of the 11 before you actually saddled me like that? And that's kind of like the thing. There's a stigma to it. So you got to be careful. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But if you're trying to excel and shoot for the stars and try to be famous, not saying I am, not saying, because I mean, yeah, I'm real famous, sitting in my parents' house right now with a job, with a minimum wage job and no money. I'm so famous.
I think you'll find most internet famous people are like that. So
yeah.
Don't worry about it, dude.
I'm trying to get famous.
You're actually head and shoulders above a lot of people because you have a job. So there's that.
Like, I'm trying to get famous, but being a low-level mixed martial arts fighter does nothing for that. It
does a little bit. Makes you like have interesting anecdotes for your author's notes, I suppose. That's one thing.
Yeah, something, I guess.
And I always thought that having a little bit of fighting knowledge always helped when writing like fighting scenes in any story.
That's probably true. I wouldn't know. Like I said, I'm not a fighter.
Yeah, like
you would be our authority, Kenchi.
Well,
does it help or?
Well, I wouldn't know because I was fighting before I started writing this stuff. So, I mean, I'd like to think it does. I mean, I like to think that knowing, because when it's a fighting scene, I don't just like to do someone did this and he dodged it, and then this happened and he blocked it and stabbed him back. Like, when someone gets hit or someone dodged something, I like to go into what goes through their mind at certain points in the fight. Like, something happened, how they would react to it internally. I think that helps.
Yeah, I'd assume that would, because you have experienced it yourself and would know exactly how that would feel, so you could put it down in your own words.
Yeah,
and have it feel real to the reader.
When someone gets hit with something that's like a real spine-shaking attack, I've been kind of knocked out before, so I kind of know what you'd be thinking when you're feeling that way. I think so. I think that adds to it.
I think the fighting knowledge also helps. I mean, you did use it was a very grapple-heavy style in Better Left Unsaid, and I assume that comes very largely from your mixed martial arts stuff, because a lot of that's grappling.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware. Yeah. So I'd imagine it does help from outside my experience, but it probably helps.
I'll definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah,
I'll try and put a little research into it.
This is very much not talking about pairings. I'm not complaining, but still.
All right, let's get back on track.
All the time.
I mean, yes, every podcast ever heard loses the original topic, but yeah, you're right. Get back on track here.
Okay, so we could run the gamut. Gamut. As for pairings, tropes. So let's talk about ship-to-ship combat.
Ooh.
Fighting over pairings.
Ooh.
Because let's get complicated and hard to talk about and flame baity.
All right, here's one. A while back, when I first got into Naruto, I was only into Naruto and Hinata, and I couldn't stand the stories with Sakura in them, because she was just... I was so used to her being written as kind of a bitch in the stories with Naruto in them, but I kind of eventually came around, but I started calling myself a Knight of Naruhina. Not seriously, but in a joking. See, the thing is, it was a joke, but you can really take that... Some people really take that seriously. You could actually have a title like that and just bold-facedly say that with a straight face.
Yeah, you've got to be careful. Sometimes you just end up becoming the mask, and then you really do feel that strongly about it, and that becomes weird. Yeah.
Personally, I always, whenever I'm writing a story, I end up changing things so much that people are like, canon pairing doesn't even apply here. Although I like in the newest chapter of M1N470, you can see that, Junpei and Chidori, that's a big, that's an actual canon pairing. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of not looking like it's going to actually happen. And people were like, well, what's going to happen to Junpei then? Because she made him mature. And, I'm like, well, just keep reading.
I can imagine what's going to happen based on things, but yeah, that's very true. I mean, I could still see that pairing happening, the Canon 1 Junpei Chidori.
Yeah, it could.
But it would be tricky to pull off, and you would have to maybe force it a little bit to happen. Yeah. Which is a problem. It's not something you want to have to do to force a pairing to happen. You want it to happen naturally so that it feels real. Right?
You shouldn't have to. You should never have to force a pairing. I mean, some people have of the mindset it's a trope, actually, to spare the pairs. And you don't need to be with somebody in a story, or the characters don't anyway. It's...
Yeah.
I don't know. Some people force a lot of pairings just so they can have pairings.
You don't necessarily need to have they got married and lived happily ever after because everyone has to get married kind of thing. It doesn't have to happen that way.
And,
I mean,
maybe that person hadn't met the person that they would get together with yet, and it just didn't happen in this story. And you know,
I can understand it when it's in the epilogue and stuff like that. I mean, I don't really mind that, but when it's in the story itself, in a long-running story somewhere in the beginning or the middle, it's painful to watch, really.
It's a strange thing. People get so involved in thinking that this character should end up with this character. I mean, I'll admit I have some strong feelings about some pairings, but trying to push it too hard will just ruin it completely. It'll feel fake, it'll feel forced, and you'll not enjoy reading it, even though it's supposedly something that, you know, you want it to happen as a reader.
I feel that whenever you do a pairing or anything like that, what really makes something like that work is, you know, setting it up. You know, if you got to develop it, and then when you have that one moment where like something, you know, good happens between like a confession or something like that, it's always best when you have a whole bunch of setup and a build up to it. You know, and when you try to force it like that, it just comes off as, you know, fake.
And that's one of the things I can see why I caught, like, I remember I told you about how I was catching flack for, like, the harem writer stigma thing. I can see how people gave me that, because even in some of the ones where I have, like, the main character Naruto shipped up with one person, I left it open for a while. Like, I had the avenues open, so because I didn't like having it set so early in the story, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I think I thought keeping it open was the best approach for it.
Okay. Since we're talking about... I hope. Something happened. Never mind. Since we're talking about shipping, and we usually do a trope section, I thought, why not just pull up the shipping page on TV Tropes and look down the list.
All right.
Before
so
that,
crossover
actually,
shipping.
I have
something.
Okay. There's, you know, the stories where the main character's with multiple girls?
Yeah.
Like it's several different relationships instead of one? I can't understand why people do that. I mean, you're alienating pretty much everyone that likes those earlier pairings, and then the people who like the pairing at the end are going to be they're going to lose interest long before that pairing actually happens. I mean, I know it's realistic. Nobody really finds the one right away, but still, I don't understand the motivation behind that.
Depends. I was writing a story that kind of goes like that, but I have a very specific reason for doing it that way myself. So I don't think I qualify for being able to talk about that very well. But, I mean, realism is important in a story to an extent.
Yeah, to an extent, definitely. There's a very fine line.
But the thing is, much as some people might not like to admit it, everyone wants the happy ending. Not many people want to see their characters get hurt, especially in fanfiction. So, I don't know. Just trying to, have the character, look around and, do the whole playing the field thing, it isn't what a lot of people want to see when they're reading fanfiction. I can understand writing it, and I can understand wanting to write it so that you can have your character develop more realistically, but it's, what's more important to you? Having your character develop or having people enjoy your story? I don't know.
And having to write that yourself, too. I mean, it's not just magically appearing. You have to write every word of that, so.
Yeah. So, shall we go down the list?
Sure.
Might as well.
Okay. Crossover shipping. Kind of combining our two major topics this week. Because why not?
My specialty, I guess.
Yeah, apparently.
I really feel that in crossover stories, the pairings that are canon are just like just one, like Naruto and Hinata in a crossover story. I'm a fan of the pairing, huge fan, but I can't stand that. It's just a waste of potential.
Yeah, it's a wasted opportunity when you've got like all this other stuff that you could be trying out and seeing how that works. I mean, fun concepts you just don't get in just a regular canon story. If you want to do a Naruto Hinata story, then you can do that with like the canon universe. But the point of crossovers is expansion of possibilities. You could do anything in that other universe that you're using.
Yeah,
so,
when I do crossovers, the canon pairings tend more often than not to kind of go out the window.
Destroyed.
Just find other people and stuff like that.
Yeah, because, it's not going to be the exact same as, like, the canon. Conditions are going to be different, and different factors are going to be affecting them. So the likelihood of it being a canon pairing is just...
Especially if it's a fusion universe. The characters might not have the same upbringing or background or anything. They might be completely different.
Yeah, in which case the canon pairing wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah. There was I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's like Menos Kain, I think it is. He has the bachelor's story.
I know that guy.
It's... Oh, really?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Alright, yeah. He has the story where it's like, I don't know, a couple thousand words of just a crossover pairing of various different series. It's pretty cool. Not all of them would last very long, but I mean, at least it's a setup. It's a launching point if you want to adopt any of them, seems like.
Yeah, I've read, there's this one author, Neon Zangetsu, and he's got like thousands of stories.
He does. Wow.
And it's just like, here's a pairing, here's a different pairing. Oh, I got a new game. Here's a different pairing again. And it's just like, it's crossover pairings, and it's just like I've never seen any of his stories actually like finish.
Yeah, he does like 3 chapters of kind of stuff, and then it just kind of ends, and he does something completely different.
The longest I've seen for one of his stuff is like 7 chapters on an old Persona Naruto crossover.
It's weird. I can't even imagine trying to write like that, just doing dozens upon dozens of different stories at the same time, and never finishing any of them.
I can't imagine not finishing something, even if I hate my early stories, and I finished the first 2 of them. Like,
yes, you did.
I can't stand the first thing I wrote. I read the first 30 chapters back, and I hate myself. I'm like, why did I put this on the internet?
Yeah, I admit I read the first chapter and I thought, yeah, okay, I'll skip this one, and just moved on to the other stuff that was much, much better. So, don't consider that too much a shot at your confidence there.
Oh, no.
Everyone's first story is crap.
Dies, or how did you end that?
Like, the first one?
Did you end it quickly, or...?
No, I didn't end it quickly at all. Like, I took it to the conclusion I had set out from the beginning. But because I started, I'm like, ugh. By the time I realized I hated it, it was 68 chapters. And by the time I realized I hated it, I was like 47 chapters in, and I was like, oh, God, why did I write this? But I had but for some reason people wanted to keep reading it, and I'm like, you know what, I have the end in sight already, I might as well just go through with it. So I just kept finishing it. And I felt, and honestly, I felt the same way about the Sealed Kunai. Like, for the first 20 chapters of that, like, at a certain point when I got extremely better and realized it, and I went back and read some of the stuff over again, I was like, I couldn't even read the first 20 chapters back again. Because after that...
Have you ever been tempted to rewrite that? Or any of your long-running stories, actually?
I have. I've wanted to rewrite it. I've wanted to rewrite the Sealed Kunai especially, because it's pretty much the thing of mine that's got the most attention, and I wanted to rewrite it and do it better at the earlier chapters, at least just, like, clean it up. But while I have a strong work ethic in putting out new material, going back and rewriting it, it's kind of lazy, kind of tedious.
Plus you won't get any feedback from it because people won't really notice.
Nobody's really going to see it.
Yeah.
It's a good way to stagnate, just redoing old stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, that story wasn't particularly terrible at the beginning. It wasn't amazing. But as far as fanfiction standards go, it was pretty excellent. So, I can understand why people aren't that bothered by it.
It's infamous for sure, yeah. You also need to keep in mind while you're reading it, it was one of the first ones that explored a lot of these concepts, or at least one of the earlier ones. So what may be cliche now was fine back then, and even new and groundbreaking and stuff.
So that's our second tangent for this topic.
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering if we can set a record or something, see if we can beat it in the future. I don't know. Shall we go on to the next trope? Because why not?
Sure.
Okay.
Why not?
Should we talk about die for our ship?
Sure, let's do that.
Because that's a thing. Yeah. Killing off characters to make a pairing happen. That's taking it pretty far, I think.
I mean, if you're...
I think the only pairing... sorry, you can go.
No, you can go.
All right. The only pairing I feel that strongly about is actually... or strongly against is Ron Hermione from Harry Potter. That pairing will tear me up inside. I cannot stand it.
I've read lots of things, and from what I've gathered, the author was like, it's kind of cliche for the main female and the main male to get together, so I'm going to change that.
Yeah, she also said, I like redheads, so I'm going to have the, female character that's kind of based on me fuck a redhead.
Mm.
Yeah, that's pretty much what she said as well, so, take that for what it is.
Yeah, I've heard all kinds of stuff. It's just, It didn't end well.
Yeah, having your main heroine end up in a relationship that is probably going to be domestically abusive in the future is not a good way to end a series, in my opinion. But hey. So yeah, that's one that bothers me as well, that I might go that far. I won't, in the story I'm writing. Stories, plural, I'm writing. But, I could kind of see the perspective where you might want that to happen. As a writer or as a reader.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Any of you guys feel strongly about a pairing that you'd kill off a character for it? Or at least to keep it from being possible?
Well, killing off a character just to stop it from being possible, I feel like that's going way too far. I can understand, the thing that really gets me is the motivation of you're killing them off for the pairing. I mean, if they're going to, die, it's got to mean something, not just be used as, oh, hey, look, now this person's available.
Yeah, using it as a means to an end is a little bit weird and excessive, but,
Even I feel that
some
way.
Writers,
so,
yeah.
I mean, killing them off is way excessive in my mind. I mean, just kind of shunt them off to the side. They don't even need to be a main character anymore, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a side issue, also turning them evil.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Demonizing them, basically. It's actually a trope. It's Ron the Death Eater.
It's Ron the Death Eater, because that's the main one that happens. Naturally. Because Ron was kind of a dick in canon.
Yeah, it's really easy to kind of bump that up a little bit and turn him full-on evil instead of just incompetent dick.
It doesn't take much, but still, it's another thing that... It actually bothers me, even with the pairings that I am that passionate about. It bothers me to take a character so far out of character.
I'm not that passionate about any of them. Like, any possible relationships in story, I'm not that, or any given universe, I'm not that passionate about. Like, I just don't care. I'm like, do what you want, basically. I'm kind of free-flowing. Like, do what you want. It's a fan fiction story, man.
Right.
Yeah. That's a lot more laid-back perspective.
I don't know. Maybe that's just the way I am. I don't know.
Yeah. Your voice is getting a little quiet again. Can you,
oh, come on, man.
I think you're fine.
It's back to normal.
Yeah, it's fine now.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, it's strange to be that passionate about pairings, but it'll happen sometimes. You can be laid back about it and say, do what you want. Some people will hate you for that, weirdly enough, but...
Yeah.
They hate me.
No, this is a terrible pairing, and this is why this character needs to die for it. Sure, whatever.
It's a guilty pleasure of mine, honestly. I take it farther than most, but I'm not crazy about it.
Mm. I'm in love with Emma Watson, so, you know, that's my excuse for it. Okay. Here's a good one. Echo and crackling. Everyone's gay.
Right.
Seen that in Bleach.
Now it's a party.
Seen that everywhere.
Any show where most of the cast is just one gender.
Any show, anywhere, dude.
Yes.
Everyone's gay, because in fanfiction, everyone is gay.
Yeah.
Sometimes I honestly can't blame the author when they do that. Sometimes, I stress that. But there just aren't that many pairing possibilities in some shows. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and admittedly, for gay people, there aren't that many pairings out there as well. I mean, as much as we might have moved forward as a society, you don't see a lot of gay pairings in actual media. Just not that common. So, I can see them trying to force the issue a little bit.
Mm-hmm. There certainly aren't that many characters that are gay without it bringing a lot of attention to it.
Echo!
Yeah.
Crackle!
Should we, really quiet.
Is it working?
Everything good?
Are we back? I'm scared.
You were gone?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We're okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what were we talking about?
Like, I assume... the everyone is gay trope. Like, I assume that's done to, like, cushion the actual pairing that the author cares about. So as to not make it stand out and be so weird, or if people think it's weird, but I think that kind of backfires. Because, I mean, certain characters, I know the whole thing, like, certain characters don't let on to being gay at all. Like, I've seen Naruto fanfiction where, like, Naruto Sasuke, Kankuro Shino, and Kakashi Haruka, and you have their entire summary is basically the list of pairings. And it's all,
that happens.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, whoa.
A
bridge too far.
It's a little bit strange, but...
I was so scared
easy.
and startled when I first saw that.
Yeah.
The first story that was like half just the pairings.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen some pretty bad ones that had a list that included, like, Harry Voldemort kind of stuff. I think that was one of the first ones that I saw.
Oh, please stop.
I don't know. But yeah. Chris brought up a good point a few weeks ago, which was, like, a lot of female writers will do, slash pairings, male-on-male pairings, and she brought up the point that it's basically the same thing as, men liking to watch lesbians, because, it's twice of the same thing that you like. It makes sense, I guess, and we have crackling, and an echo. Damn, it didn't work this time.
Nope.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, it's, twice of the thing that you like. So, I could kind of see it from that side, maybe? I don't know. I don't find dudes attractive, so I can't imagine seeing two ball sacks being better than one ball sack. But I'm not that mad about one ball sack either, so...
I can see how people would, like, definitely take that everyone is gay approach in, like, certain, like, categories, like, say in, the big shonen ones where the main character doesn't show any, like, interest in any females whatsoever, like in Bleach, or, like...
That bothers me, too. I mean, like, that's a weird thing in shonen stuff, because the main character is always, like, what's the word for it? Chaste about everything to everyone. And people aren't like that. sane people, sane teenagers of all things, aren't like that.
I think
bizarre.
I think there's there's one part in Naruto when Hinata confesses her love to Naruto, and then they just ignore it and move on.
They
Yeah,
do.
that was in the pain
They
thing,
still
wasn't
haven't
it?
brought that up.
They brought
I was
it,
so
they didn't bring it up
pissed.
at all. Like past four.
One of the
Nothing
covers of the
happened.
volumes was her and Naruto holding hands, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's a canon pairing," and then they never really talked about it.
Yeah, I think they're just trolling for that now. Yeah. Should we talk about fan-preferred couples? I think we have.
I think we pretty much covered that.
I think we've hinted on it, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
we could go in depth, but...
Okay, I think we'll do one more of these and then call it quits for shipping because we've covered the topic pretty well, I think.
There has been a shocking lack of stabbings going on in this conversation.
Yeah, that's true. How about now? Foyer. Enemies hooking up because...
Right, yeah.
Hey, maybe I should bring up the Harry Voldemort thing again.
No. You're not allowed
or
to
Harry,
do that
Lucius
again.
Malfoy, Voldemort.
Stop talking.
And Draco Malfoy.
Stop. Gonna hurl. I'm not against male/pairings, but none of them ever make sense. So
yeah, that bothers me too. But anyway, we're moving on to Foyer. So just like enemy characters getting together for a more if you want a straight one that's still really weird, but is an example is Harry Bellatrix, or if you want a Naruto one,
Tsuyuya. Of the Sound 4?
Taiya, yeah.
The redhead?
That's one, yes.
Yep.
That's a popular one, I've noticed.
Yeah. I mean, Kenchi's written one, so yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thumbs up. I mean, let's...
But,
Yeah.
redhead, nothing to complain about there, so, yeah, it's a strange thing. I mean, a lot of the time, the examples of Foyer you'll find are the ones that are kind of borderline enemies.
They're loose.
Yeah, so it's sort of like an anti-villain kind of thing. And then they come around at some point, whether in canon or in the fanfiction story, and it'll be believable, and that'll make sense, and it'll be okay. It'll be a good story for it. Then there's the ones where it's like, okay, these arch enemies that have wanted to kill each other all their lives are now going to have sex because reasons.
Yeah.
Because hate sex.
Right, yeah.
That's the excuse usually, yeah.
Some of those rival-turned-friends ones can have some interesting dynamics to them, though. So there is an appeal there. As long as you make it believable, there is definitely an appeal.
Yeah, it's the really out there one. I've never read one because it seems completely stupid to even try writing it, but I guess it's a challenge for them to try writing that.
Most of the time, people take shortcuts and make it so they're not actually evil. They're just under mind control or potions, or, well, for Harry Potter, it's potions, and Naruto, it's usually seals, control seals.
Yeah, they'll offer some.
Yeah, now I think about it, they did do that for Harry Bellatrix a few times.
Yeah, they'll offer some sort of cop-out to the reason why they're super enemies in the first place, to make the transition of the relationship smooth.
Yeah. Oh, it was a big misunderstanding. That didn't really happen. It was the one-armed man. Why am I quoting Unusual Suspects? So, yeah, that... If I saw one where it was genuinely, like, proper enemies, like, arch-enemies, getting together, it could be an interesting story if it's done really, really well. But to do it really, really well, you'd have to be a really good writer as well.
And plan it out.
I think finding a story like that would be like the Holy Grail. It's a legend. The good Foyer story.
The unicorn.
I feel like trying to write one of those now. Get a good Foyer story out there. I don't know if I can actually do it, but,
Who would you do that with in Persona, though? I mean, there's Chidori, but she was...
It probably might not even be Persona. I might have to actually stray for my category.
Oh, there's some options.
There's options.
Jin, Takaya.
Yeah.
Takaya's a popular one, actually, now I think about it.
Definitely.
Because of the voice.
Yeah. Definitely Chidori's kind of straying from that, path a little bit. The whole
fairness, that's
evil
kind of an example.
enemy, yeah. And, I probably might end up doing one of those in M1N470. But, there's definitely possibilities out there.
Okay. Robot Minato and Takaya confirmed.
No! That's just... I'm trying to imagine that, and...
It's a robot
don't
with
hurt yourself.
shirtless Jesus. That story just writes itself, dude.
Oh,
shirtless Jesus with a magnum.
I don't...
Oh, with both kinds of magnums, now I think about it.
Please stop.
If I were to do that, though, there would have to be Jin, too, and that just gets awkward.
Oh, this is a fun episode. So we'll get into our actual tropes conversation. Crackle. Yeah. Culture chop suey. We have anything to talk about for this one yet? Or it's just kind of loads of different cultures being mashed together to make them work?
Oh, the Krogans from Mass Effect.
Oh.
Well, actually, a lot of stuff from Mass Effect. They all kind
Just
of
Mass
borrow
Effect.
something.
Yeah. I mean, Krogans being like Vikings a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Mind.
Yeah.
Crackle. Seriously? Crackle? What's going on?
Snap.
Ken, you there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, yeah. It's your mic crackling, so I wasn't sure if it was cutting out or something.
No, I'm fine. Just thinking.
Okay, so we've got... Yeah, okay, I'll cut in here. Right, so, Krogans remind me of Vikings a little bit. Can't think of anyone else that they remind me of.
They've really got, I'd say, more of a Spartan approach to life. I'd say maybe a little bit of Spartans in there.
Yeah, Sparta is a lot more accurate. Yeah, I'll give you that one. As though I am the authority on such things.
Sure, why not? You get a badge for it.
If you could see those as Spartans, then I suppose you could see the Asaris, like Athenians, I suppose the word would be for it.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Solarians, I want to say Chinese, kind of, almost.
Yeah.
Really?
I could see that.
Chinese. Being super spies and super intelligent and talking fast all the time, and
it's very
sure.
cerebral, I guess, but that's not a perfect fit for any really race because there's so many different stereotypes.
I don't know. I'm not sure the Mass Effect series really fits that well.
Not perfectly, no.
I don't know.
I want to say the Gordons from Legend of Zelda, the rock people, but I can't think of what they would actually be.
Yeah, I can't think of a culture that would really, fit them. Because they eat rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So Americans. But sorry, I'm English. I had to make an Americans joke at some point.
That's fine. I like those.
It's in the contract. I get deported if I don't.
Just keep tempting me to try to out my English accent.
Don't do that.
So tempting.
If you did that, I would be forced to try out my American/Canadian accent, and that no one wants to see that. It's apparently pretty good, but no one wants to see that. I don't want to see that. Don't make me
my
do
English accent. It's apparently pretty good, but...
Trust me, to any English ears, it wouldn't be.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
What the hell are we We have absolutely nothing to talk about for this topic, do we?
No,
skip it.
Not really. Skipping.
Okay.
Throw it to the
I'm going to
curb.
leave this in anyway, because fuck it, why not? It's a stupid conversation that we won't get rid of. Okay,
Jump Shui and kick it. Shoot it.
Okay. The Henderson scale of Crackle. The Henderson scale of plot derailments. Oh. See? It was a joke because I derailed that sentence.
Right.
That's why I did it, honest. Yeah, okay. So, I know very little about this, so someone else is going to have to talk about it a little bit while I read up.
The Henderson scale of plot derailment, basically, it determines how much any action has derailed the plot, primarily in RPGs, with -9 full Hendersons being the action undertaken has solved every problem in the universe for every living and non-living thing in existence. And more than 2 Hendersons is near mythic levels, unpresentable by number in this or any scale. The action undertaken has undergone all steps, which is basically decimated the plot and the universe so utterly that everything has to be scrapped.
Okay.
And it's just...
Oh, yeah, this is the tabletop
thing,
the rules where
which the
game master has an idea of where he wants the story to go, and this is how much the players completely derail that.
I have a story about that, actually.
Go for it.
In my first tabletop RPG, it was over the computer, but it's the same thing. There was an armory. The town was originally captured by bandits, and we had to kill the bandits and secure the town, and that was going to be our home base. And I decided I was going to be greedy and go after the armory, and that didn't work out so well. They had booby-trapped it, and it blew up with enough force to blow up the entire town, or at least a good chunk of it, so we didn't get a home base.
Wow. I'm not sure that's entirely your fault.
I didn't check for traps, so I just walked up and opened the door instead of checking for the tripwire that were really common in that one.
Yeah, but the DM was the one who decided to put a self-destruct button on the building that he wanted you to have.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was entirely your fault. I think there's some blame to share around there. Okay, I'm not entirely sure where that would fall on the scale. I think maybe...
It threw off the entire main quest he had planned, so it was pretty bad.
Okay, so maybe 1. Maybe 0.75, I think.
Oh, almost every one of the townsmen died because they were held hostage in the next building over, which was mostly leveled.
How much of that was...
So,
how many people, so the people in there were, relevant to the plot?
Yeah, they were major NPCs.
All right. So
the people who would eventually give all of us quests.
I'm going to give that a 1. Did it scrap the entire game?
No. Although we did eventually scrap the game because time restraints, but that wasn't specifically what ended it, no.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a 1.
Yeah, 0.75. 0.75. It didn't screw everything up. You did manage to move on from it a little bit. So I think a 0.75 fits. So, yeah. That's a fun thing.
Yeah.
This scale. It's a useful tool. If ever we actually get a proper game going, as Ethan wants to do at some point, this will be useful. Or entertaining. When it inevitably happens. I have no idea who the hell would actually, run the game. Whatever. Do we want to, what the fuck did I just click on? A Kickstarter, apparently. Fuck. Kudos to them, it's earned £13,000.
Awesome.
I don't know what it is, because there's no name on it. Anyway, what the hell am I talking about? Why do I do this every time?
Were we going to move on to the next topic?
Oh, that sounds like a fantastic idea. Who said that?
Me, Justin Slicinus. Why'd I use my real name? That bothers me.
I promised I'd stop doing that, and then you do it. What? Whatever. Only you can do it.
You gotta live your gimmick. You can't just throw your government out there for everybody to know.
Right.
You got enemies somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere, probably.
You've got to protect the people you love.
If you screw that up again, Slicer, I'm going to start using the Slicer nicknames.
All right.
Okay, so... Drama-preserving handicap. I said that right? I thought I didn't. Yeah. So...
Enchanted Armor starts like that.
Yeah, when the character suddenly becomes rubbish so that they can lose, and then the villain can be shown how amazing they are, even though they're not that amazing, and should probably have lost the fight anyway.
Or it's the other way around. The villain could easily decimate the entire hero party, and they...
Admittedly, it could go the other way, yes.
Yeah. I actually thought of a Glorious Shotgun Princess. Anybody read that Mass Effect story?
No.
I read most of it.
Oh, thanks. So.
I say most of it. Some of it.
Right. Well, that one doesn't actually have that. Everybody's just slugging each other. Full stop.
Yeah, that was the fic where the Mass Effect characters got superpowers.
Yeah, from Enchanted. Or, no, that's not it.
It was some tabletop game.
Exalted, that's it.
Yeah, that's the one.
Really overpowered, but he actually...
Yeah, they got superpowers, and then the scale of the fights became cosmic.
Ludicrous and glorious.
Glorious. I don't like that guy's writing.
Ah.
I have a very good reason for that. Every single scene, he decides to start by being... You know that thing where you go super vague so that you can do, like, reveals?
Yeah.
Of, like, what's going on and who's talking and everything like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Every single scene he would do this for. It got so annoying. I mean, really.
I never noticed.
I don't even see how that would really, like, work. Like, I feel like it just, there comes to a point where it's just like, I feel like I'm writing this, and I really need to just be a little bit more obvious when it's already going to be obvious who's talking and who's doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it got infuriating. Can't imagine how it would be to write. I mean, if in every scene no one knows what's going on, how does the writer know what's going on? He must have a cheat sheet or something while he's doing it.
Or he just doesn't know what's going on.
It's also possible.
One of the things I'm working on, which is probably never ever going to be posted, there was speech that was like inedible or not inaudible. That's it, and you couldn't really hear it. It was just a few letters of the entire sentence. And when I wrote it, I had a perfect idea of what that text was. And then when I went back a few months later, I was completely lost because I'd completely forgotten what this character was saying. Yeah, that was annoying.
I once alluded to something in a story, right? And I was like, this character, and this character's like, I have this plan for this thing to happen, and then I returned to that story like just a week later. I'm like, well, what's the plan? And so I just wrote it, and it's like, no, like it's actually an M1N470, and he's like, Junpei, if you come with me back to the dorm right now, I'll show you something, right? And then I'm like, okay, and then I returned to the story later, and like, what was he going to show him? And he's like, okay, and Junpei's like, what was that thing you were going to show him? He's like, what thing? And he just sort of ran out.
Okay.
I could just imagine the audience waiting in rapt attention, and you, the author, join the audience. It's like, what's going on, guys? It's awesome.
It turned out pretty fun, actually.
Okay. Pulling back the curtain a little bit. It's fine. That was funny. Yeah. Okay. Drama preserving handicap. That's what we were talking about. So, that happens sometimes. It's stupid.
It can be, yeah. Oh, DBZ is terrible at this. It's just, yeah.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
I don't watch it, so.
Yes, it is.
It's so...
The worst thing I've ever seen, the worst one I've ever seen is when Vegeta became Super Vegeta, and Cell was still like second stage Cell.
That is why I hate Vegeta. That is the defining moment of why I cannot stand Vegeta.
And Vegeta shows up. He can kill Cell before Cell absorbs Android 18. And the only thing that stops him from actually doing it is that Cell says, Vegeta, you're the Saiyan Prince. Wouldn't you want a real challenge? If you let me absorb 18, you can destroy me at my full power. And he just lets Cell run off and, like, kill, or it's like what's left of 16 is with 18, and there's no one else going. Vegeta's the only person that can stop Cell at this point.
And he even fights his own son just to make sure this happens.
I know.
And
what's worse about that is that the worst thing about that is that Trunks could have stopped him too, but Trunks didn't want to use his like stronger Super Saiyan version than Vegeta's because he didn't want Vegeta to know he was stronger than him.
Yeah. That backfired later, but against
Vegeta.
the smaller powered Cell, I think it would have worked.
It would have.
Everything I hear about Dragon Ball makes me not want to watch Dragon Ball.
Well, it's because Dragon Ball Z is basically the thing that set up every single archetype of everything else that came after it that you probably know of.
It's the Seinfeld problem, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that's true. I guess everything else kind of built on the beginnings that came from Dragon Ball.
Yeah, like the makers of Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, they've all said, we kind of took some inspiration from Dragon Ball Z. We all watched it,
Yeah, and they actually built stories on it that don't revolve around power levels. Much. Sometimes
power
they
levels
do.
were thrown out the
Much.
window, like, as quickly as they came.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when was the last time you heard about, the ranks of missions in Naruto?
You can guess for most of them, but yeah. A lot of the main cast go on stuff that you can't really rank or define. It's all kind of spur of the moment, so.
Yeah, they don't even think about that stuff anymore. You get, like, power levels and... Oh, this new power that I have, yay! Now I can fight this guy who was completely, kicking my ass before.
Which is a shame.
Oh,
That's a real shame because that whole series, the Naruto series, started with I thought it was great. Like there was such promise, there was so much you could do with it, and then at a certain point it became, at the point I don't think anyone ever should have gotten any stronger than Pain got. Because even with him, even as strong as he was, he could destroy the entire village in one move. There was a way to beat him that you didn't have to have equal power to destroy him.
Mm-hmm.
You could have tactically beaten him.
Yeah, I mean, Pain was supposed to be like a god mode character anyway, and then Naruto has to be on par with him all of a sudden.
His strength has holes in it, though. Exploitable holes, and that was the whole point.
Yeah, but then Naruto's on par with him, and then there's people that can dwarf Pain.
Yeah.
For some reason,
it's kind of
were never mentioned before.
The DBZ problem, where it's like,
the
second saga of DBZ, there's 4 big sagas, but in the second one, it's like, hey, guess what? We can destroy a planet. Even in the first one, they're like, we can destroy a planet with a shot. And the second one's like, oh, destroying a planet's no problem. And the Cell saga, Goku's charging up an attack, and then they're like, what are you doing? If you unleash that, you'll destroy the Earth. And he's just like, I'm just going to teleport and shoot up. It's just, how much stronger can you get to that? And then, with the new movie, the person that Goku faces is they say at one point, when he gets upset, he'll just make a galaxy vanish in an instant. And you're just like, what?
I'm convinced nobody knows how planetary destruction works in that series. I mean, they always think the planets are so fragile. They're made of glass, but everybody keeps saying they'll be destroyed, but they never do. Almost never.
Namek got destroyed.
Well, yeah, Namek bit it hard, but...
It took the 5 minutes that took 6 hours.
Yes. The longest
they mocked that in the abridged series, actually. Do you know
I love that scene.
Love that. I honestly think, though, that if you want to look at it from a more scientific point of view, if we're talking about Frieza, and he's not raised on Earth time, so how long would he think 5 minutes are? I mean, with the difference between planets going around different orbits and everything, how long is 5 minutes to Frieza when he's saying it takes 5 minutes?
Question: you know what a minute is? Well, of course I know what a minute is. I don't think you do. And I think that's why drama preserving handicaps actually exist, because at some point when in some series people get too strong to like actually
the longer
fight.
running series.
Yeah. I'm glad we finally brought it back to the topic rather than talking about Dragon Ball Z, because I know fuck all about Dragon Ball Z.
Sometimes you just need an excuse to give your secondary characters some time on screen, but they have no chance against the big bad at a certain point. At a certain point, they have no chance of doing anything other than just being corpses on the road. So I guess that's where...
Yeah, and that was part of what the Pain arc was. I mean...
Yeah.
Just a string of second-string characters just throwing themselves at him and sometimes being okay and doing a little bit of damage, but most part just kind of sucking.
Yeah, and by the time Naruto got there, he was so worn that he just like wasted a big chunk of his chakra destroying the village. So there's your handicap, I guess.
Mm-hmm. The tuning exam guidelines work really well for that. It's the point isn't to win; it's just to show off your strength.
Yeah.
So that drama-preserving handicap fits well for the weaker characters, so they can show off their abilities and stuff. Get some time in the spotlight.
Not to mention it's a competition, so killing is frowned upon. Kind of.
Yeah.
So they're handicapped there as well.
I just keep thinking of this manga. It's called One Punch Man, and basically the main character is just so powerful that whenever he fights somebody, he kills them in one punch. And it's just like he's just like, life is boring. I hate this. Why can't somebody strong come along? And then recently, there's just chapters after chapters of people trying to throw themselves at this really strong enemy, and they can't beat him, and it's just oh my gosh, he's so powerful. And then the main character arrives, and he's just let's do this, and he just one punch, and he's that was boring.
I read a crossover that a while back with Fate Stay, where Shiro did that. He just destroyed everything.
I need to read that.
That sounds like a fun story. It also sounds like the beginning of a lot of villains in shonen series. Yeah. Okay. I think we've drawn some good stuff out of that topic.
Mm-hmm.
Punch Hero. Alright. I'm going to need to remember that name so that I can put it in a link dump. Alright. Last topic. We have the last topic, and we've been going for an hour and a half, so it's a good run for this one.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Right. It's apparently not One Punch Hero, it's One Punch Man. Please stop correcting each other in the chat so that I can, focus. Okay.
Cheeky.
I'm gonna kill you, Zero.
You're welcome.
Okay. Remember when I was talking about Kenchi running across the ocean to kill me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to do that, but I'm considering paying the airfare to get to you.
See?
Just as fair warning.
Close enough.
Zero.
I'll go.
Just Like Us
I love traveling.
is the final topic. Just Like Us.
Just Like Us.
Just Like Us. I don't know why I said it like that. It's not that kind of phrase.
You want to explain that one so people know what it is?
That's exactly what it is. We're not so different, you and I.
I mean, you shop at frickin' JCPenney's, and so do I. Not so different.
Both have a membership card.
Are you doing the Batman voice?
I'm Batman!
Jesus Christ.
Where is she? Where's the Joker?
Give you credit, it's pretty decent.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going away now.
Okay. He's gone away. He's back in his box.
So, Just Like Us.
Just Like Us.
I think Joker actually, does that. He's like, you and I, Bats, were both insane people who go out and beat people up. Except I kind of shoot them. You don't.
Beat people up. Yeah. That's true. I think just about every major villain has had a we're not so different speech at some point. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's very, very common. And often enough, I guess they have a point. I mean, most of the time, it's intentional that the villain and the hero aren't that different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is kind of the entire point of Half-Blood Prince, I believe, is showcasing how Tom Riddle is basically the same. He had the same upbringing, sort of. Similar enough, really.
Yeah, which is another hole in that story that it didn't need.
Yep.
Naruto and Gaara.
Oh, yeah.
Naruto and just about anyone, but yeah.
Yeah. But I feel
Naruto
like
and Sasuke.
I feel like Gaara's was actually, more, well done than some of the others, which were just pretty much forced. You know?
Mm.
Like, Gaara, is what would happen if Naruto was left alone and nobody had, good had come, and that was the
yeah. If Naruto didn't have the one single solitary person that gave a shit.
Yeah. I just thought it was a good parallel. It was the first time they really did that in Naruto.
And then they did it over and over.
Yeah.
They had the cloning issue with that. It's where it gets farther and more corrupted the more they copy it.
Mm. Yeah, they had two good examples of that, and that was Naruto and Gaara and Naruto and Sasuke.
And now Jerry...
I'll admit that was pretty good.
Yeah, even Jerry B from down the street in the Hidden Cloud Village has something in common with Naruto from way back. So
everybody's suffering all alone.
Oh. Everyone hates me. They don't understand my pain.
That sounds like any, emotional teenager.
Yeah, well, that also is the majority of the cast of Naruto, so, it fits.
I'm
just waiting for Ino to say it. That'd be interesting.
It's just in general about humanizing the other characters, basically.
Yeah, it can be done well and it can be done poorly. Anything can be done well and can be done poorly, so that's a very pointless thing to say for me, but still.
It can really emphasize that one bad day mentality.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's just... Sometimes it's so forced, it seems like you're just... Well, forcing it, basically.
Yeah, just doing it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, it's not... Even when it's done badly, it's not a trope that I'm really bothered by. It's like, oh yeah, they're doing this, fine, whatever. And just move on.
Actually, the way I'm doing it in M1N470, I'm kind of hinting at a character that is, like him, but it's not what you think. It's not like, oh, we both suffered the same, or oh, it's more literal, actually. But it's going to be very interesting.
Well, literal. You don't mean who I think you mean, do you?
Well, who do you think I mean? Or who do I think that you think?
Well, you're jank.
It's got confusing fast, but I'll cut out the exact word that I'm going to say right about now. Labrys. Is that who I'm thinking of?
No.
No? Okay.
Will she be in that story, by the way?
She is, isn't she?
She is, yeah. She's a major character, actually.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I haven't read that one yet. I plan to, but...
He finds her, cause...
Let's not give details because I'm going to cut out exactly who it is. Even though it wasn't who you were talking about, this is entirely pointless, and I don't need to worry about spoiling something that we haven't spoiled.
It's really complicated, I'll tell you that. It's really complicated, and I thought it up, and it actually makes a surprising amount of sense at some points. But once I reveal it, it's not going to be for a while. It's going to be pretty shocking, I think. It's not been done before.
You're not planning on sneaking in Hamako, are you?
No, I might have already actually. I have been planning that of sneaking in Hamako, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but I do have plans for her in the actual thing. And actually, it's not like, oh look, here's this random girl. It's Hamako. It's much more intense.
Cameos are hard to do in fanfiction.
Looks like I do have something to cut out for spoilers.
Yeah.
Whoops. Oh well.
And, well, you're planning it out, and you're thinking about it. It's not just a spur-of-the-moment thing, so I've
been planning it out since pretty much chapter 5 or 6. So, about 10 chapters ago, almost.
Very much planning ahead.
Couldn't keep it under wraps anymore, could you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, FYI, I'm going to be cutting out like most of this conversation about your fic, just because, like, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know about that. I mean, if he's okay with it, it's not really spoilers. It's kind of a sneak peek, actually.
It's, yeah, a little bit of a sneak
Yeah,
peek.
final word, I guess, Zero. So, yay or nay, cut or not?
I'd say, you can keep it, because I want to keep them guessing and giving. I've given actually a surprising amount of hints, and I'm kind of glad that nobody's been able to figure it out so far.
That's always a good feeling.
Like I did say in one of my chapters that Hamako would actually make an appearance, because she was actually did get votes when I put her in the pairing poll that I did.
A decent amount, or was she toward the bottom, or
like she got a somewhat decent amount, and people would saying they'd be interested to see her in there. So that meant I could go with my original idea of what I had planned for her, and it's going to basically, it's kind of actually going to end up being a major part of the story. I don't want to spoil anything, but it should be good.
Awesome.
Interesting. So, wait. No, you wouldn't be doing that. That'd be silly.
Doing what?
Never mind. No, it's just that most of the time you have both protagonists in the story, they're siblings.
No. Yeah, no.
And you've already mentioned a sibling.
I've already denied that. I don't even see how that's possible. They don't even look alike. Which, it's possible for siblings to not look alike, but it just seems weird to me that those two, when they're actually, like, more or less the same person, almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I suppose that's true.
The persona
That's why I find it
protagonist
weird.
archetype.
I find it weird when there's a pairing between Minato and Hamako, because it's just it feels like I put in Monomaki self-cessed,
right,
or masturbation, but
Masturbation, yeah.
But self-cessed sounds more fun, and masturbation sounds more lonely.
Self-cessed sounds more fun. Heard it here first.
The definite news on the issue.
Yeah. All right. I think we're pretty much done with this one, so I think we can call it here.
Yeah.
All right.
So I want to thank Kenchi and Zero for being on this episode of the Fandom Flux podcast. This was episode 4. Yeah, I said we were going to do a Harry Potter thing. We're going to do one. I don't know when. It's going to happen sometime. I don't know. In the future.
Maybe.
When I get people who, want to be on it.
We're shrugging hard right now.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so we're still looking for, more cast members. Might have noticed this has been yet another boys' club, and we have an entirely new lineup. So that happened. So, ladies out there, we would love a feminine perspective. That would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than dude broing it out all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, please get in touch. We have Twitter, at Fandom Flux, I believe it is. We each have our own individual Twitters as well. I will probably link those in the link dump if you would like to get in contact.
Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr. I
have a Tumblr, but I'm not going to put that up.
Okay, everybody but Kenchi and Zero have Twitters and stuff that you could get in contact through us for.
Yeah, on second thought, don't look up my Tumblr. Don't do that.
Okay. Yeah, or you could comment on the blog page, or you could get in contact with us on fanfiction.net through PMs. Maybe not Kenchi or Zero. I don't know. They might actually get a lot.
I PM'd quite a few times, but
I try to stay off the grid for the most part.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah.
Questions,
this was episode
topics, volunteers.
Questions, topics, and such and such and such and such. Here's a thought. Anyone wants to, I don't know, chuck us a theme song or something that I could play at the beginning of this? That'd be nice too.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
That would be cool. So, yeah, this was episode 4 of the Fandom Flux podcast. Thank you for listening. This was fun.
Mm-hmm.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.